Welcome to Commanders Daily, everybody. It's your one-stop shop for everything burgundy and gold. I'm Bob Matthews. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss an episode of it. All right, here we are. The guys are back on the field as of yesterday, getting ready for the preseason finale coming up this Saturday at Northwest Stadium, noon against the Baltimore Ravens. Still nothing on Terry and his contract, which is why we're starting with this again today. Now things are starting to get interesting, and in this case, we do not like interesting at all. McLaurin is still not in. Diana Rossini, one of the people reporting, I think earlier today, or yesterday rather, that the Commanders' offer is at about between $27 and $28 million. Coincidentally, that's pretty much what the franchise tag will be next year. And again, if Terry and his camp is looking for $33, $34, $35 million, that's pretty much where this impasse is at. And it's very interesting because if you kind of listen to all the talk out there, it's starting to get to the point where I think a little bit of the public sentiment is starting to turn a little bit against not necessarily McLaurin, but his camp. His agent, Buddy Baker, is taking a lot of flack on this. Now, for all we know, Buddy Baker is doing a good job. But this starts to, so much of this is a battle of perception. And this is a guy, an agent, who McLaurin's his biggest contract. This isn't a Drew Rosenhaus that we're talking about here. This isn't, somebody, whoever represents Josh Allen or Joe Burrow or one of those guys. He's trying to make his bones here with Terry, or at least that's the perception. And I think that's feeding into a little bit of the impasse here. But remember, it's not all on him either. If, let's say, and a lot of people think that, this could be resolved if you meet in the middle at $30 or $31 million. All right, so let's say that the Commanders are offering 27 or 28. You're talking about a difference of $2, $3, maybe $4 million tops. How does that $4 million negatively impact this organization going forward? And the simple answer is it doesn't. Not only does the team have the cap room for it, even if they didn't, even if they were hard up against the cap, $3 to $4 million, finding an extra $3 to $4 million is nothing. You renegotiate a couple of guys, you space out some signing bonuses, again, relative to the cap, and you come up with that money. Now, I get that Adam Peters has got a lot of guys that are going to be up in the next few years, guys like Deebo Samuel possibly, Laramie Tunsil possibly, and maybe even Frankie Luvu. But you've got to deal with the situation as it exists right now. And clear and present is Terry right now. Those other guys are going to be in their 30s as well. And you just got to wonder why, and I hope one day we find out why they can't meet in the middle at around $30 million. As far as, in practicality, what's going to happen here, if we don't get a deal today, tomorrow, or over the weekend, that starts to put, if we get into next week, if we get to Monday and there's still no deal that's been signed and McLaurin's not practicing, now we start to worry about, does he miss the first 2 weeks of the season? It is entirely possible. He's got to have some ramp-up time to get ready. You don't just go from the street right to the starting lineup. So if something happens here in the next, say, 48 hours, I don't think it'll be a problem because he's got 2 full weeks to ramp up. But if he's not on the field by the first of next week, then this starts to become increasingly problematic. I never thought it would get to this point. Now I think it's starting to get more and more likely that McLaurin might miss a couple of weeks of the season. And for a team with Super Bowl aspirations, that is just not good. Dan Quinn is obviously fed up with this. He very, very nicely kind of staked out his ground in his press conference yesterday by saying that he is not playing the Where's Waldo game with this. Quinn has had to, really walk a fine line here, and DQ's done a pretty good job of it. He has couched everything in terms of that designation of McLaurin being physically unable to perform to start training camp. So he's been able to kind of have a little bit of plausible deniability, saying, I'm only concerned about the health aspect of it. I'm only concerned about the return to play aspect. And he hasn't had to kind of say anything about the contract situation. So, and today he said he's just not answering any more questions about it. Again, you can read between the lines between that and Cliff Kingsbury earlier in the week saying it's time to get on the practice field. Clearly, the coaches are feeling not just frustrated, but a little worried about where this thing might be heading. So, how about some good news for you? Yeah, there was some good news at training camp today. Number one, Washington Capitals head coach Spencer Carberry was out of practice. It's always good to see Carbs in the off season. And we also got some news on some of the injured players getting healthy. So Marcus Mariota back at practice today. That's a good thing. You would like to see the backup quarterback get some reps here in the final game against the Ravens. And I would have to think he's going to play at least 2, if not 3 quarters, since he's a little bit behind. And Brandon Coleman, who has not been on the field since, I want to say, August 4th, 5th, 6th, somewhere around there. Brandon Coleman returned to practice today as well. Also, if you missed it, the Commanders signed George Fant, a veteran offensive lineman, for a little bit of depth. So it looks like they're trying to address that situation. Again, you get everybody healthy on that line, though, and I think the offensive line becomes a very, very important part and one of the strongest parts of this team, something we could not have said this time last year. Finally, don't forget, any comments you got on this? How do you think, I tell you what, how about this? How do you think that Terry's contract situation is ultimately going to get resolved? Drop a comment in the comment box, and we will read them on the air tomorrow. Again, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you for watching. We appreciate it. We couldn't do it without you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Remember, like the wise man once said, if you're out on your bike tonight, as always, do wear white.